No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much. I know this is obviously pre-recorded, but I'm looking forward to the day today.
Yeah, me too, definitely. This is the official start of what we do every year, which is our holiday hacks sessions. This will take us through the New Year's week, and then we will start back with regular episodes of Hacking Your Leadership on Monday, January 8th. But the reason we do holiday hacks from Thanksgiving through New Year's is because we know that a lot of our listeners don't have as much time to devote to listening to podcasts. There's a lot going on from sometimes their jobs can ramp up a lot if they're in retail. Definitely the time spent with family and kind of holiday goings on get a lot higher this time of year. And the last thing we want to do is assume that our leaders will prioritize us when we're asking for them, sometimes 30 to 35 minutes of time a week listening to new Hacking Your Leadership episodes. So over the next 13 episodes, now through January 4th, we're going to be talking about a series of videos that we found. We used our own research, talking to people, combined with Google and AI, and we found the top 13 videos that are being watched right now by leaders and aspiring leaders of Gen Z.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. This is the first time that we've done this. We've done like the top leadership videos on YouTube. We've done a couple of different things like this, but it was kind of cool to think about, like, what are we hearing a lot about? What are people talking about in some leadership theories and concepts? And then we looked at YouTube, and then we asked AI a couple of questions, and we got a long list of videos, and we went through them and kind of vetted them through. And these to us made the most amount of sense based on all of the research that we did.
For sure. Gen Z, I would say, has the highest number of, or like kind of like the best divide between people who are in leadership roles as well as people who are aspiring to be in leadership roles. And that's just because the age, like there are Gen Zs right now who are in their mid-20s. And, you and I, we had our first leadership roles when we were, 18, 19, 20 years old. And there are people in Gen Z who are moving up within their organizations, and they have taken on leadership roles. And there are younger Gen Zs, or people who are at the beginning of their career, and they're aspiring leaders, and they want to be leaders, and they want to kind of grow in this. And so I think there's a healthy divide there of people who are watching these videos because they're trying to become better leaders, as well as watching these videos because they have a desire to move into leadership roles, and they're trying to make sure that they are learning the ins and outs of what it means to be a good leader. And so I think this list makes sense. There's a lot of videos on this list that I had already seen, and I thought that was kind of cool that I'd already seen these. And then there were a few that I hadn't watched that when they came up, and I thought this is interesting, and I learned some stuff as well.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. And again, to your point, like, we typically do these episodes as 10 to 12 minute length of episodes. So we'll talk a little bit about these videos, but let's get this countdown started.
Awesome. The very first video we're going to be talking about is from Adam Grant. It's called Are You a Giver or a Taker? And it's a TED Talk that was put up about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's based on the work that he did in his book, Give and Take, which is about 10 years old now, but still very, very relevant. I know a lot of leaders who cite that book as either their favorite or one of their favorite leadership books of all time. I think that there are a lot of really relevant statistics and criteria and advice in there for upcoming leaders and people who are trying to become better leaders. And so we'll kick it off with that video. By the way, we will post links to these videos in the podcast description so that if you'd like to watch them after you finish listening to this, or even before, feel free to do that. They are all available on YouTube, and those will be the links. But Adam talks about givers and takers, and about how the thing that makes the most sense to me is this idea that the givers in any workplace or school or whatever the environment is, they make up both the highest and lowest performers. And this idea of how just because a person is a giver, it doesn't mean that they are going to be they're going to succeed or that they're going to fail. He talks about how the fact that takers are tend to rise really fast and then fall really fast. And so the idea of, if you want to be a giver, and if you're an organization, you should want the highest number of people on your organization to be givers, because that in turn leads to the overall success of an organization, even if a lot of those givers don't succeed themselves, which is kind of an interesting kind of duality there. And it becomes incumbent upon leaders to create environments that actually help givers succeed and not burn out. And I love this for that concept.
Yeah, for me, the two things that really stick out in this video that I love that he talks about is that idea of that we actually want as many givers as possible, and the skill that we want to help them with is understanding how do you limit the time commitment when you are giving. How do you give with more intention and not get lost in giving to so many things that you can't do the job that you're supposed to be doing.
Boundaries.
Right. So I love that, exactly. And then I also love the point that he makes around the matchers. And like the people that are takers and they're taking from others and they're taking from different things. And again, they tend to have like this really quick rise, but then also a big fall, is because the matchers that you have are the ones who are like, no. Like we're going to be consistent. This is kind of about fairness, like you don't get to just take, you also have to give. They take it as a personal mission of theirs to just completely, disrupt the takers as much as they can and call them out for the fact that they are just taking and not giving. And so like for me, you see that play out. I've seen that play out so many times in so many different teams and organizations where you have those that are kind of takers, and sometimes they're like a taker and giver clothing. You know what I'm saying? Like they're acting one way, but their behaviors show you that they're really kind of doing it for selfish reasons. They're not sharing the success of with a team. You hear a lot of me, I in some of that. And the matchers that you have on the teams are the ones that will call them out on that. They will they'll push back a lot on those types of things. And so it's never that you're going to eliminate matchers and takers from your business, but it is really about creating spaces where your givers feel valued. They know that what they're doing is the right thing in theory, and they know that you will work with them to help them understand how do you still have that mentality and approach to wanting to help people, but not lose the focus on the job that you have at hand.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I want to talk about what leaders can do in organizations to make it so their givers are more likely to thrive and less likely to burn out. But first, I want to get up toward one of our sponsors. All right, so in this video, this TED Talk, Adam Grant talks about an example where in a hospital, there was a nurse whose job assigned, their only job was to help other nurses. And that de-risked the concept of the kind of the self-imposed limits on asking for help, because if you ask a culture that says that values asking for help is one that gets a lot more things done, a lot less mistakes are made, and people work together more. That is the type of culture that allows givers to thrive, and this works not just in healthcare or hospitals, but really everywhere. The organizations that I know who have people whose job it is to reach out for help, what that does is it gives givers the opportunity to know who needs help, to insert themselves in areas where they can help, where that's their job to do that, but it allows them also then to go back to their regular work as well. So it's kind of like this assigned time or space that allows the givers to be givers so that they can also feel comfortable getting their work done. I like this concept, and I think it works well in organizations.
Yeah, I love that too, because I think that when you ingrain this culture around, like, we're here to do the best work that we can do together, and that's going to require us to constantly ask for help and to reach out to one another and be okay with not knowing something, and be vulnerable to say, hey, like I'm either struggling with getting this done the right way or just getting it done in general. Like those types of cultures and environments, I think, are the absolute healthiest. And again, you do have to have a good amount of, it's like kind of like everything can't be a group project.
Right.
And people still have, like, you have your job and your responsibility to do. So it's not about like always going around and asking everybody for help all of the time. It is really about in those moments when you are getting stuck or when you are having opportunities that you feel really comfortable going out and talking to peers, talking to other people, talking to your boss. Like that level of, I think, transparency is so critical to having great cultures.
Right, right. And when he talks about how takers are the ones that have they have really fast rises and then really fast falls, I think it's because some of the takers that I've known, they know how to be givers, but the spirit of why they are giving is because they know they can get something from it. They give in a way that allows them to take advantage of that person later on. And it can seem like they are a giver at first, which is why they tend to rise very fast, because they are making the best use out of whatever the relationship is, whatever they're kind of exploiting the relationship for whatever their own benefit is. And the people who they are doing this to, that it can seem like a good relationship at first, but the moment the taker no longer has use for that person, the relationship goes away because they don't actually care about that other person. And that's why you see a lot of takers that will rise fast in an organization and then they will move on. They'll move on to another organization. You'll see this happen every couple of years, and that's because people start to figure out what they're doing, and then they see the writing on the wall and they go, okay, I can no longer get things out of people here because they know what is behind this now. There's the kind of the game is up. So now it's time to move on to another organization where I can start this process over again. And you have to be really careful about those people, but you can't be so consumed with trying to avoid being taken advantage of by those people that you stop doing what is inherently kind of comfortable for you. He says a lot of people who are in the matchers phase are just people who they started out as givers and they were taken advantage of one too many times, and so they kind of moved away from there. And again, that's a recipe for, I don't want to say mediocrity, but again, if the most successful people in organizations are the givers, the matchers kind of fall in the middle here. If you are naturally a giver, I think you want to do whatever you can to remain there. And part of that is finding leaders and finding organizations that will help you thrive in that space. And if you are in an organization, identify the givers in your organization or on your team and do whatever you can to make sure that they're not burning out, that they are able to thrive, because they're the ones who will leave after a certain amount of time. And some people burn out doing this after a month, and some people burn out after 3 years. But at the end of the day, they're your top performers, and they will get burned out if the environment that you're setting up as a leader is not one that encourages them to continue thriving as a giver.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.